Hi guys, this is Njeri. Welcome to the Love and Life show, where we discuss music, literature, love, and life.
He's also very well educated, but he has very he's very relaxed in his views on life, and he's very much of the opinion that you as an individual need to figure out your own life and not be governed by the opinions of other people. And I think having parents that both had very radical opinions themselves is really what helped me, because I'm not saying that it was easy. I'm not saying that they welcomed the fact that I wasn't doing a degree with open arms. Honestly, it was the opposite. They were both pretty upset, but it was more of it was a conversation, right? And I think a lot of people don't even get to have that. I literally had a conversation over a year and a half. I think probably took 2 years for my parents to accept that I was not going to school. And so again, I would say a huge part of it comes back to parents, right? Where it's number one, because parents set the culture, they set the environment. So if they create a space where you feel like they're not going to punish you, they're not going to disown you, they're going to allow you to fail, so to speak, you feel better doing it. Your chances are better. Other than that, I read a lot of education reform literature in high school, so I had already gotten myself pretty exposed to what it meant to be very self-directed in learning, as well as just reading a lot of radical views on how education could be, was very impactful. There's a quote that I really love. I forgot who said this, but it's basically, there are things you know, there are things you don't know, and there are the things you don't know that you don't know. And I think when it comes to careers, that last one is so important, because when you're not exposed to, what you're saying, when you're not exposed to programming or design or a lot of these newer, well, they're not new necessarily, but they're more in demand right now. When you're exposed to those things at such an early age, you can figure out if it's something you want to do. But when it's completely,
I know it's an option.
Yeah, right. But when it's completely not in your mind at all, it's not a concept that exists, it's just a lot harder. So I would say the things that really helped me were parents that were supportive, but also a lot of exposure, from an early age.
Okay. Paving and crafting a professional, non-conventional future in an African society, how do you go about it?
Yeah, that's interesting. I think that even besides my parents, there are tons of aunts and uncles and friends of parents and just older, people who are older than you that will always have opinions. So you're not just fighting with your parents, you're fighting with just African society as a whole. And I feel that was even harder, to go to a party every time or to go to meet family every time, and people are what are you doing? And I'm they're are you studying? And I'm no. And they're you should be studying, and I'm well, I'm not. That was having, I think I had that conversation more than 1,000 times. You just have to build resilience. You have to know that, look, this is what I chose. I'm choosing to go about this in a way that's not very conventional. It might not work, but I'm not going to allow all of this noise to cloud my experience. And I think that also that shapes so much of it, just really shapes you, especially as a young person, because I think that was like for me the first time where you are really going against what a lot of people think, and you have to stand in that criticism and not be moved by it.
Do you feel like that's something in your character, or is there a way that you can give tips on building that confidence? Of, because you know things don't always work out, and you always need something to. And I feel like you're lucky, and I really admire the fact that you had confidence in what you knew was meant for you. But it's really not easy for everyone to know that. Okay, let's block the noise. You get what I mean?
Yeah.
So apart from character and maybe like your experience and your exposure that helped you build that, what can you say can be a tip to remain in that confidence of despite this is my hustle and I know where I'm going and I know my plan?
Yeah. Number one, like I was not confident in like I was confident to a degree in which I actually did it.
Yeah.
But on a day to day, I was like shitting bricks. Like I really didn't know whether or not I was doing the right thing. And again, like a lot of this process is not about you knowing what's best for you. It's you saying that I'm owning this experience for myself.
That's
right?
True. That's true.
You're again.
And I'm sorry to interject, but I feel like there's so much responsibility in like breaking out of the norm. I'm sorry for lack of a better word. And a part of the responsibility is maintaining that, is keeping that remembrance of I need to and I have to. Yeah. And I feel like because it's your choice, I feel like there's nobody there trying to remind you. Is there to support you and remind you this is why I'm doing it. So there's responsibility even in breaking out of the norm, and people don't understand that.
It's hard, and it's one of the things where I'm like, I know that if I ever have children in the future, support just goes such a long way, because I've like honestly I broke down multiple times because when you make a decision that's against what the majority think,
and you feel so alone and crazy.
Because the problem is you feel alone, and when mind. You do feel alone, basically like your experience is not going to be perfect, right? In the same way that someone is going to go to school and get a 4-year degree, you like Lorraine, for example, she wants to drop out every year, right? Like, but she will go to mom, or she'll talk to you, or she'll talk to her friends, and people will assure her that I know it's hard, but you've been doing this for 5 years.
What do we tell these people that we need support from?
Sorry?
How do we tell these people that I need your support?
Right. So it's like, you see that when people choose the more conventional way, they're support reminded that you can feel this way and still keep doing what you're doing. But the moment where you're like,
there's nothing to justify
the moment when you're like, I'm not going to college, and you're breaking down, people are like, you should have went to college.
So, honey.
As if it would have fixed all your problems. And it doesn't. Problems will always be there regardless of what you choose, and that's something that people should understand. You know, you're not choosing a method or choosing a life path to avoid problems. You're just choosing a different set of problems that you feel like
that's very true.
you want to endure.
You're choosing a set of problems that you love yourself through. You love it through. You get to tell me.
And that you want to endure. Like I didn't want to endure 4 years in school, but I was willing to endure 4 years in industry and all of the like really crappy things that come with being super young in like your first years of working. Like I was willing to endure that, right? So that's just a different set of problems. But yeah, like that's such a huge thing, and I'm glad you talked about that, because like one of the hardest things that you have to prepare for if you do anything that's against societal norms is like,
you really need to be ready to stand up to it.
And in regards to like how to combat that, trying to find as many spaces of people that are like you, or of people that believe in what you're doing. So, you know, I had two friends that also took a gap year, and that were just doing incredible things, and we would vent to each other all the time. Like we were both like, we're not like, this is not working. Right? So having a support system of people who are in the same situation you are, because even like my best friend, she didn't go through what I was going through. Like first she's way older than me, but she also went to school. Like she did a 4-year degree, and there was moments even when I would talk to her where she'd be like, maybe you should just go to school. Like, you know, so it's not about the fact that she was even being a bad friend. It was just about the fact that she wasn't really going through the same things I was to understand where I was coming from. And so it's just, as much as possible, try to find people who are in that same space that you are.
That's a really, really good point. I love it. So there's this one time you were over at our place and we were talking with mom, and she was really, really insisting on the fact that I don't have a problem with supporting you doing whatever you want to do, but I need to see results. I need to see something coming out of it. And she was saying essentially, me bora tu my kids can put food on the table, then that's fine. Show me your money, and not definitely through drugs and side businesses, illegal activities, but that was her thing. And how do you make money off it? How do you show results? Because I know seeing people like you who are the successful test subjects is one thing.
It's relative.
Mom actually caved in because of you and because of Chris, because she saw that, and this is something that's happening, and you're
just a commercial break. Chris Kaiga's my cousin. Like, I just want to put that out there. That like,
I'm telling you,
I am related to a famous person.
Chris Kaiga's been wilding. So
shout out to Chris.
Shout out to Chris. Zime nice. So you guys are the test subjects, but money, how do you make money off of things that are don't make money?
Right. It's good that like you brought up Chris, because like me and Chris are in such different industries. Chris is in the entertainment industry. Like he literally makes music. Like if my child told me they want to do music full time, even I would be terrified. Like that's the thing. Like I'm such a huge advocate for people doing like what they want to do, but it's just, you're so scared. It's such a hard industry, and like I grew up seeing Chris like he was doing music for years before he blew up, right? Like everyone,
and people don't understand this.
Like we
struggling,
like we lived in the same house. Like me and you know Chris's journey to Zimenais. And so, you know, mom, but it's at the same time, it's like mom would still see him leave the house, go do his business, and come back home. You're not seeing someone who is like sitting on the couch the entire day for years on end.
Point number one, guys, that's the point within a hidden way. You're not just being seen doing nothing at home. Also, so please,
if you're African, just don't stay home.
It's true. Go like, stay in another person's home and sleep there.
Dude, this is such a like, it's a conversation I think only Africans will understand. But like literally, I saw a meme that is what is the craziest thing that you can do? Relaxing in front of an African mom. What do you mean you're relaxing? Where's the time? Excuse me. There's always something to do. There's always something to do. Like my parents are very chill. But there's a way you get so much anxiety when you're just at home. It's like you wonder what they think about you. And to an extent where I go to my best friend's house so much, just like even when I'm not working, just to not be at home.
Like if I,
especially if my parents are, it's like sometimes my my dad especially works from home. So in those seasons, I would just leave the house because I'm just like, eesh, I don't want to be seen. Like, you know, and so, you know, that's very like, there's like, that's a conversation on its own as to why we think those things and why we have so much anxiety with our parents. But in general, it's like, if your parents are already like, assuming that your parent is supportive of you pursuing a lifestyle that's a bit different, the goal isn't to show them that you are succeeding in the first year. And this is a mistake that I made, which was like, I would say it was a mistake that served me well, but I like pushed myself so hard when I was like 17, 18, well, till now. I think now I'm a lot more chill, but I was working from the place of proving something, right? Like
a point, you showing,
and because of that, it's like you become so disoriented, because it's like, so because it now again it goes back to the fact that you're doing this for your parents. You're not even doing it for yourself anymore. You're like just trying to prove a point, right? And you have to remind yourself that everything takes time, and if you can't expect to show your parents that you've succeeded in 3 months, in whatever your definition of success is. It's going to take time, and if your parents are going to accept you,
yes,
they have to accept also that
the
it's going to take time, right?
In the process of figuring yourself out.
So it's also for you to, like, for me it was like, you also have to be okay setting like realistic expectations for yourself, and not being in a rush to show everyone that it's working.
And also, this is such a like cliche thing to say, but then also comparison. People have such different journeys, and that's a reality people forget. That's super true.
What's your journey been like?
My journey?
You
gotta just hit me, man. I'm like, wait, what are we talking about me, man?
Because I feel like I'm so like, I was talking to my dad the other day about you, just like how proud I am of everything you're doing here, but like, you're literally just a year younger than me, but like, you...
Oh my god, I'm a year younger than you and you'll be rich.
No, but like, when I see you, I'm just like... When I see you, I'm like so inspired, because I'm like, oh my gosh, she's doing all these things. She's on television. She has a podcast. Like, you, if I was you, if people knew how long it took for this episode to work, I would have quit the first time we tried it. This is our third time trying this episode. Like, I do not have the stamina or the patience to do anything this many times. But yeah, like, what's your journey been? Because you're also, it's not like super conventional.
I think first of all I need to point out that this diploma was paid by mom as a bribe for me to go to law school, guys. Truly.
I love your method. You promised your mom you'll go to law school.
Law school just to pay for me this diploma, and I knew that if I don't succeed, there won't be any other option for me. And I feel like, for me, I can't say I have specific, I don't have specific Wangu moves. She's making big money moves. But I just feel like you really, really need to work. I have always been like, I was the last one, and all my life things were being done for me. When I mess up, my elder sisters come and be like, no, Kajesu nafanya hivi. Kajesu is my nickname at home. And that was my life. And I feel like when I came to ADMI, everything was moving so fast. I was in a space of creatives, of people who are so willing to be great. And all I have to say, especially what I learned from my experience, is just you really, really, really need to do the absolute freaking most. You really need to stand out. You really need to sweat. You really need to just do what you love, but do it with an intense amount of hard work. And I was talking to my friend the other day, and we were saying people do not understand how creatives are struggling. And I won't say equally as engineers, but then also I won't say unequally. It's just different.
You can't compare it.
You can't compare it at all. Yeah, and I'm telling you, getting ideas for podcasts, talking to business moguls.
You got it.
For journalism is, you really need to go the extra mile, and you really need to find confidence wherever. And also that thing for support. I'm so lucky to have a friend. Shout out to you, Elizabeth Semo, who drives me, and we hold each other's hands in just wanting to be great. I say surround yourself with people who have the same vision as you. That will forever be my goal. Support the people who have the same vision as you. Support yourself and believe in yourself like a mother, father, brother, and sister. It's not even, I don't know, just love what you do. Love it with all your heart, and know that it's your purpose to do something. You get what I mean? That's something that I truly believe. And yeah, I think fight. For me, it's just fight, pave. And I don't even think at the universe is not bad for you to have fought and they don't give you anything.
Right.
Yeah, but I think for me it's just that. I don't have specific steps. I feel like I'm not where I want to be yet, but I'm happy that I have drive. Yeah. So that's it for me. What can you say this experience has taught you?
Just everything you just said.
Yeah.
learning how to work hard. I like that you pointed out, like, you're a last born. Last borns don't gotta do anything.
Nothing.
Like,
Baby, nothing.
Like, we have the last born privilege, guys, is so elite. Like, you don't understand. We do the bare minimum. Like, shout out to our older sisters. But I won't lie, like, I don't feel like my life was that hard. Like, I feel like I made my life harder than it needed to be, if anything.
That's very true. And it's okay to admit it.
Yeah, like, you know, I had a really nice childhood and like a decent upbringing. Of course, you like, not perfect, but like, it was good. And so if I had decided to just go the more traditional way, you know, maybe that would have been fine. So in a way, I feel like I brought more problems upon myself. But I think it was just the first time where I was in a position where I had to work for the things I wanted. I had to show up for the things I wanted. I had to show up for myself.
Yeah, that is true. That is 100% true.
And just that stamina for getting the things that you want and the things that you dream of is something that you can only have when you're in the process. You know, you can't prepare for it. It's the same way that, like, if you're working out, like, you don't
baby, I feel you.
Like, you can't become fit before you start working out. You know, like, you're gonna start working out and it's gonna be hard and freaking painful. I know this from experience. Hated, like, it's taken me years like to start going to a gym. Like, I literally started going last year. Last year is when I started loving gymming. And 30 minutes, like a 30-minute workout was like hard. Getting up to working out for an hour and a half is like, it took months, first of all. And you feel yourself getting stronger in the process. Like, that's, I think, the key phrase.
Is true. We should highlight that part.
Yeah.
You only feel stronger as you as you go into the process.
So you can read as much as you want. You can mentally prepare for it as much as you want. But it's only after you make the choice that you start, I would say, growing and learning. Yeah. So I would say that's what I've learned from my experience. I've learned also not to judge people for what they choose. True. Dude, if you want to go to college and get an 8 to 5, like, do you. Like, I completely respect that. If you're in a job, primarily, people are always like, you shouldn't be in a job just because of the money. Dude, we live in Kenya. Like, we're in a recession. Like, get money if you can. So it's just like understanding that career paths and the things that we do and the reasons why we do them vary from person to person, and they're all valid. you know, and
That's
at the end of
true.
the day,
They're all
everyone is
valid. I love that.
we're all trying to get by. So yeah,
That is always my motto. Everyone is just trying to get by.
yeah.
And the respect for people's experience is so crucial.
yeah.
It really is. And understanding, like, pia, yeah, ni life yake pia.
Yeah.
Please, auntie, please.
I think that
Yeah.
there's a whole one narrative that I like, especially when you've chosen a different life path, you feel the need to be very defensive,
Yeah.
and so you think that you think that you have a lot of power when you say like, oh, at least I am doing what I love.
Yeah.
You know, like
Yeah.
that's the only thing you feel like you can own. And because of that, you just don't, you're not exposed to just the reality of things.
That's
And
I love it.
high school makes, like, education makes sense. 8 to 5s make sense. Corporates make sense. Startups make sense. Like, there's so many ways to live life.
Yeah, that's
So,
true.
yeah.
The topic of today, we are winding up. The topic, today's title is the African Dropout. And we're talking about how it's a paradox. Remember, we were saying the African dropout is a paradox itself. How can you be African and there's education available and you're dropping out? Please.
Yeah.
And
it's, yeah.
crazy.
It's not. Yeah.
And I'd want you to explain that, the background behind the title, and we finish off from there.
Yeah. I should clarify that I did not drop out. I just never dropped it. Although I did. So I feel like, I don't know. I always say I didn't go to.
Just dropped.
I just never started. I always say I didn't go to school, but I did go to ADMI. And like, I am graduating and getting.
Yeah.
Like, I've literally been here for 3 years, so I have gone to school in a way. I see ADMI very differently from a school. I say school
God
because it's
bless
not
you,
typical,
ADMI.
right? So yeah, what was the question?
Question was the explanation behind the African dropout and our intent behind this episode.
Oh, okay. I think it's just like my intention with this is just to like get people thinking about like, oh, it's possible.
Yeah.
There are people that do things differently. I think the moment where the thing that precedes you choosing to do something is you knowing that it exists, and you knowing that there are people out there that are doing it, and also people you can reach out to, because like, honestly, if you're listening to this and like you want to reach out to me, like, I'm a very easy person to reach out to. I assume you are. Okay, I'm not going to make any comments about you, but like, I'm a very easy person to reach out to. Like, you can leave my Twitter handle because my Twitter is very dumb. But like, you know, if anyone ever wants to ask me about stuff, like, feel free, because my whole intention is like, talk about it more, get people more aware of it, allow people to ask you questions, and just get excited about owning their own experiences,
Owning their careers, and their professions.
So yeah, I think that's
Thank you.
right answer.
Thank you so much for being here, Wangs. I feel like it's so scary to be the test subject for a whole generation behind you, but you are brave enough to do it, and that's so commendable. Like, wow. And it's a forever gratitude from us to you. Yeah, and for setting the path and showing that it's possible. And I always appreciate you for that, and I love you extra for that, aside from other
I
things.
want to cry. Oh my gosh.
It's barely smiling, guys. That's but that was the episode on the African Dropout. All my love to you guys, to my listeners. Comment down below what you think. I always say this. And I really hope, I pray for you guys' love for what you do, for utter and complete love for what you do, and success and prosperity always. Yeah. So bye. See you and listening to you next time, guys. Wango, bye.
Bye.